Welcome back to Everyday Technology, everyone. Nate here, back at you with another video, and this is the 2018 MacBook Pro. For many, this computer is far too expensive to purchase, but if you're a professional, then it's probably your best option if you want high performance in a small package. I will be going over the pros and cons of this iconic device and sharing my personal experience so that hopefully you guys can make a wise purchase decision. Coming from a Windows laptop, I had no idea what to expect with this computer. My only confrontation with Macs was at Best Buy, and I only got like 5 minutes with them before the employees started pestering me. Getting adjusted to the Mac interface took some time, but gradually I began to become more familiar with the OS, and I have to tell you, I really enjoy working on this laptop. The Retina LED display is way sharper than any monitor that I own, and although many people have hated on the butterfly switches, I personally think they are a breeze to type on. The keys don't have a lot of travel, and that was especially noticeable to me as I had previously used a mechanical keyboard, but to my surprise, it only took a few days for me to become adjusted. The trackpad is another aspect of this device that took some getting used to. Before using Mac, I had a laptop with a real button trackpad. The MacBook Pros haptic trackpad was a little uncomfortable to me at first, and it still is, but I have learned to cope. Anyway, 90% of the time, I use a mouse instead, so it's really not that big of a deal. Performance is better than any other computer I have tested so far. Even with 4K files, editing on this machine is a piece of cake. Right now, the only editing software other than iMovie on my MacBook is DaVinci Resolve, which I have messed around with for a couple of days. I haven't edited a video for the channel on this computer yet, but as I become more familiar with the editing software, keep on the lookout for some crispy 4K videos. Now that I have gone over my experience so far, let's take a look at the specs and features of the MacBook Pro 2018. Personally, I went with the 15-inch Touch Bar model, primarily because I am planning to edit photos and videos with this computer. The 15-inch Retina LED display represents colors phenomenally, using what Apple refers to as true tone technology. It also gets noticeably bright, almost to the point of hurting my eyes, so for most use cases, I would keep the screen at 50% brightness. Although the bigger screen size definitely makes the MacBook Pro heavier and slightly less portable, it was a good decision for me. Screen size really depends on what things you plan to utilize your Mac for. The touch bar is another feature that is really useful for creative work, but not necessarily required. In my usage, the touch bar has been helpful in almost every app. For instance, when editing video in iMovie, you can play, pause, and split the track you're editing all from the touch bar. In addition, you can access Siri and adjust brightness. For the people who can use it to its full potential, the touch bar is a great tool, especially for media production. Siri on the 2018 MacBook Pro is, well, Siri. The addition of Hey Siri makes her slightly more useful, but she can kind of be helpful if your hands are full and you need an answer quickly. For me, this feature would be more helpful on the go because I already have a Google Home Mini in my workspace. Positioned at the very end of the touch bar is a fingerprint reader. When unlocking the MacBook Pro, the reader is extremely responsive. The only inconvenience with this feature is its size. You can easily click other keys when trying to unlock your device, but that shouldn't really be a problem as your Mac isn't fully started yet, so any keys you hit aren't going to be active. In order to ensure that my Mac can handle the intense video editing that I plan to put it through, I went with 16 GB of DDR4 RAM with a 2.6 GHz Intel Core i7 processor and a 512 GB SSD. This should be more than enough RAM to edit even 8K footage, but in order to store all of my high-res video, I may need to buy an external hard drive in the future. On either side of the keyboard there are two stereo high dynamic range speakers. For casual media intake, These work great and sound very crisp and clear. I don't use them though, as they are not studio monitoring speakers. When editing video, I still prefer to use my Audio-Technica ATH M30X headphones, mostly because they produce sounds more reliably. If you have been paying attention, my current MacBook Pro configuration adds up to approximately $2,800. That, my friends, is a lot of money for a computer, especially considering that you still have to buy dongles. Or you can just go complete savage and simply use USB Type-C, which, now that I think about it, is probably not a good idea. So far, I have primarily discussed what I like about this product, but with all tech, I do have some complaints with the MacBook Pro. First is the lack of a USB Type-C adapter in the box. I'm not going to go on complaining about the lack of ports. Instead, I would have liked to have seen Apple provide at least an HDMI or USB dongle. What makes this problem worse is that if you want to get a decent Apple branded dongle, well, you're going to have to spend a pretty penny. There are off-brand dongles out there for much cheaper, but if Apple had made their own adapters less expensive, it would just make things a whole lot easier. Second is the keyboard. Now, before I did say that I really like the butterfly switches, and I do, but there is one key that has been kind of giving me trouble. When typing, the caps lock key seems to need an extra tap or two in order to register. This isn't a big problem, but it can get annoying when typing for long periods of time. Lastly, we have the infamous webcam. Oh yeah, 720p goodness. Come on, Apple, if you're going to charge thousands of dollars for your computer, at least have a full HD webcam. I'm not that upset about the camera quality because I don't use webcams that often, but for people who have to go on video business calls, I can definitely feel for you. The 2018 MacBook Pro isn't for everyone. If you're a college student who just needs a computer to type up reports, or you're someone who doesn't plan to do any CPU-intensive tasks, then do not buy this laptop. There are plenty of other options out there. On the other hand, if you are a music, video, or photo creator, then the MacBook Pro is definitely a computer you should consider purchasing. In the end, it really just depends on the price you are willing to pay for the power that the MacBook Pro can offer.